Welcome to Who's in STEM. I'm Ken Ono, your host and the STEM advisor to the provost and the Marvin Rosenblum Professor of Mathematics at UVA. Our goal is to evoke flights of imagination and wonder by showcasing the cornucopia of all that is STEM at UVA, the marvelous world of UVA science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I just bought my 13th car. Yes, I've had 13 cars, while I've also bought cars for my family. Being nostalgic, I can say that each car evokes powerful memories of different periods of my life. So let's see. My first car was an orange Datsun that I drove to high school in the 80s, listening to Rush on 98 Rock, my favorite station. I'd put about 75 cents worth of gas in the tank each week, which I paid for with the change that I found in my jeans. And if I'm honest, I should tell you that I tried to use only pennies, nickels, and dimes as I saved the quarters for the arcade video games. Now, my second car was worse. It was a crappy yellow Datsun B210 that I shared with my college roommate. Really amazing story. We bought it for $200 at the corner gas station in the south side of Chicago, and I'm sure we saved it from the junkyard. The floorboard was so rusted out that we could count the potholes as they flashed by when we drove it. Well, ever the poor graduate student at UCLA, my third car, it wasn't even really a car, it was more go-kart than car. None of the buttons on the dashboard actually did anything, as Erica and I bought the cheapest model. When I got my first job as a professor in 1993, I celebrated with my fourth car, a candy apple red Honda Prelude sports car. And I loved that car. Probably the favorite car because it has so many memories. Well, I just got my 13th, as I mentioned. So 30 years later, just this past weekend, I purchased my latest. How about we call it a late midlife crisis car? You see, Erica and I are empty nesters. Our 2 kids have launched. I got nothing better to do, so I splurged on a fancy German sporty electric vehicle with a shiny flat-screen dashboard, moonroof, and the bells and whistles. Now, I have to admit, I'm just a consumer of cars. I have no idea what's under the hood, something called an engine. I've never changed the oil, but I do know how to pump gas, and I now know how to charge an electrical vehicle. But in contrast, here at UVA, we have some automotive maestros, and they're developing space-age technology and software for autonomous race cars. They lead a team from UVA which did something truly extraordinary.
Oh, they're still after it. They're still going maybe a little bit faster, and this is where my nerves would start to come up a little bit and say, should I do this or not, right? Yep. Do I need to be doing this? And they're pushing for it, though, and you have to applaud them for that. They want to win this competition. They feel like they have a good chance at it. Yeah. Because this is how you do it, right? You have to take the risk.
And there are two elements to this. The time trial has its own competition, and then it seeds the passing. So even if you have a problem in the passing, you can still win.
That's right. The
time trial, and that's a big deal.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. Let's see. They didn't need a lot. They did it. Oh, yeah. 170.645 from Cavalier Autonomous Racing in the University of Virginia. That, folks, was an amazing lap.
UVA engineering professor Madhur Behl leads the Cavalier Autonomous Racing Team. He's joining us today. And also joining us, we have Amar Kulkarni, his UVA PhD student in computer science. Madhur, Amar, congratulations and welcome to Who's in STEM.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. I'm very happy to be here.
Appreciate the congrats. Happy to be here.
Madhur, as the team principal and the professor, this has to be a dream come true for you, something that's been long in the works. Exactly, what did the Cavalier Autonomous Racing Team, what did you just do?
Yeah, you're right. This is absolutely a dream come true. And so our team races in a competition called the Indy Autonomous Challenge.
The Brickyard.
That's correct. So this challenge was started in 2021 at the Brickyard. And so we race in this competition. There's over 10 teams from all over the world, from Italy, from Germany, from South Korea, about 6 teams from the US, which participate in this autonomous racing competition every year. And so this year on 6th of September, they had a race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which is the racing capital of the world. So a very special occasion.
Yeah, I'm thinking Mario Andretti, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, all these legendary drivers have raced there. And it's only the second time this competition has returned to this venue as well, which makes it extra special. Our team won the time trial portion of this challenge for the very first time. And in doing so, we We set multiple records. We have the track record for the fastest lap at IMS, at the Speedway, 52.628 seconds.
And in miles per hour,
it's 52 seconds for 2.5 mile oval. So that averages to about 171 miles per hour, just a little above 171 miles per hour. And not only that, during that fast lap, our car hit a top speed of 184 miles per hour, which is a world record for autonomous speed at a racetrack. And so in doing all of this, we've also become the first ever American team to win a race in the Indy Autonomous Challenge. It's an incredible achievement, not just for the team and UVA, but for the field of autonomous racing.
Congratulations. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I mean, it's really iconic. My first image, the images that come to mind when we talk about the Indy, of course, is the Indy 500. And at the end of each race, it's famous. The winners, clad in their race fire suits, they get a huge trophy, and they get this glass bottle of milk that they drink in Victory Lane. Madhur, did you get your trophy and the bottle of milk?
We did get a trophy. We did not get the bottle of milk.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, I know, right? I was literally up for drinking, milk or champagne, even racing fuel. At that point, I was so excited. But we did get a nice trophy and medals for the entire team. We celebrated in Victory Lane in the winner's circle where the Indy 500 winners celebrate. We also participated in another iconic tradition for the winners where the winner of an Indy race, they get an opportunity to kiss the start-finish line, which is literally a yard wide, and it's made up of the original bricks of the Indy 500 tarmac. And so that's probably my favorite photograph from that evening, where you see the team lining up and kissing the brickyard.
Oh.
And in addition to that, we did win some prize money that will go directly back to the team to help us grow this even further and support more students. So no milk for us, but a whole lot of excitement and a whole lot of bricks to kiss.
That's super. Now, I'd like to circle back a little bit because your Indy car, your race car, is autonomous. And although I think I know what that means, let's take a moment to really talk about what it really means. So an autonomous car is a driverless car. But fill us in. It's got to be so much more than that. What are the main challenges that you face today as an engineer and that we all face as we hope for a future where autonomous vehicles become reality? And on top of that, how are these challenges amplified at the speeds that your cars drive to win Indy?
So you're absolutely right, Ken. The autonomous vehicle essentially means that there is no driver, which is controlling how the vehicle steers and accelerates and stops. And when most people, I would say, think about autonomous vehicles, the imagery of a Tesla, self-driving, or autopilot comes to mind, which is a good reference point. But we have to realize that these systems still have a long way to go before they are ready.
What are those systems doing?
Yeah, they're trying to perceive the surroundings. They're trying to figure out where the lane markings are, where every other agent on the road is, and they're kind of acting accordingly to plan a safe path, which is not just safe for the occupants of the vehicle, but safe for everybody else outside as well. In fact, I would say some of the biggest companies today are pursuing autonomous vehicle technology, from Google, from General Motors. But yet, we don't really have these vehicles everywhere today, right? They're getting tested. So there must be a good reason why we don't have ubiquitous autonomous vehicles today, despite decades of progress. And the reason is it's an extremely hard technical problem to solve. So I digress a bit, but I sometimes find it amusing when people say that artificial intelligence is already here, general intelligence has been solved. I'm looking at this and saying that we don't even have artificial driving intelligence. Like, who would you want to have behind the wheel of your AI driver? The average American driver or the best of the best expert drivers, which are racing drivers? So that's where racing comes in. It's really a proving ground to stress test the AI and the robotics technology which goes behind these autonomous vehicles. That's what we use racing for. It's high speed, close proximity, all these unexpected situations. And that's where regular vehicles struggle. It's very difficult to ensure whether a vehicle will make a safe decision when it encounters an unexpected situation it has never seen before.
Like a deer crossing the street.
Deer crossing the street.
That's real life, right?
Yeah, exactly. And real life is very difficult to enumerate and pre-plan for. So that's what requires true intelligence. And when you add the mix of high-speed racing into it, what essentially becomes is you have to still do all these challenges of perception, of planning, and of controlling the car, keeping it stable, but with zero margin for error. So yeah, I think it may look like we are having a lot of fun on track, and I promise you we are. But the truth is, at the end of the day, this is really about advancing robotics and AI and safe autonomy in ways where it could directly impact the safety of regular passenger cars.
Yeah, so I'd like to follow up on that with some specifics. Will your work on these autonomous race cars translate one day to everyday cars? Will we see this technology on the road? I haven't yet seen, I don't think, a Tesla driving itself in the lane next to me. But what does the future bring, and how does it relate to your work?
I strive to do exactly that what we are learning from the racetrack will have some significant bearing on the safety of a Tesla or any autonomous vehicle for that matter. So I do feel autonomous vehicles will have a role to play in the future. If the technology is safe and it's done right, which is the hard part, it does stand to benefit the society in a huge way, drastically reducing the number of fatalities that we experience on our roads, or even enabling mobility for a huge population which doesn't have access to safe mobility today. And so the technology that we are refining in autonomous racing, as researchers, as academics, we disseminate that to the community. We write papers about it. We release data sets in the past. And that's how we are trying to make an impact. But having been doing autonomous racing for a while now and kind of gotten a little bit better at it, we are also now contemplating spinning off something commercial on this experience and this unique sort of code that we have developed that will even further help bridge this translational gap. So I very much hope someday, somewhere, there's a piece of code running on autonomous vehicle that kicks in when there is a safety decision to be made and when you have to swerve out of trouble. You need this racing kind of behavior, aggressive steering and braking, and that's what we hope for. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Amar, welcome to Who's in STEM, and congratulations. So as I understand, you are a PhD student in computer science, and you're also the co-technical team lead for the Cavalier Autonomous Racing Team. But just for starters, just to have a little bit of fun here, is it fair to say that in your research as a PhD student that you get to play with toy cars?
Absolutely. This is one of the biggest driving factors that gets people on our team is the car is awesome. It looks really cool.
It does.
And it's really hard to say that going over 100 miles per hour isn't cool. That being said, it's also an amazing opportunity for learning about robotics and learning about autonomous driving. I both get one of the coolest projects that I've ever worked on in my life, as well as what feels like an extremely rigorous technical introduction to how autonomous driving can be safe and effective.
You're not starting with the radio-controlled toy that the kids are playing with on the street in front of my house. You're going straight to Indy. A little bit more seriously, because this is obviously very difficult and important research. Show us, take us there. What does it take to prepare an autonomous race car for Indy? And in particular, how do you get to a place where you have an autonomous car driving 184 miles an hour? How does that work?
Well, we start with where we are. We're sitting in Charlottesville. The race car is in Indianapolis. So we really don't have access to it all that often. So when we arrive at the track, we are like, this is extremely valuable, precious time here at this racetrack in Kentucky Motor Speedway or Texas Motor Speedway or Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And so we can break it down to when we arrive at the track, we will have maybe 20 to 30 minutes to test our vehicle, and we'll have maybe 2 or 3 of those sessions per day.
And how many days in advance of a competition?
This year we got a lot of testing, which maybe accounted to around 50 testing sessions, which in the grand scheme of testing these pretty advanced algorithms where we run 1,000 times that in simulation, it's a minuscule amount of testing for what we have to accomplish. So every drop, every minute that we spend on the track is absolutely precious to us. So when we wake up in the morning and I have to shake the undergrads awake and we drive 40 miles to the track, this concept of this precious piece of track time is driving all of our decision making. We arrive there, we drag our stuff out to the pits as fast as possible. We heat up the oil, check the tires, harass race control, making sure we have fuel and making sure our tires aren't too worn out. And then we discuss, what is our game plan? What are we going to do today? Are we going to test acceleration or braking? Are we going to go chat with some other teams and say, hey, we would like to conduct some multi-car testing. Let's organize a game plan. It is a lot of fun, but at the same time, when we approach track time, we have to do it very professionally and not waste any of this time. That being said, once the car is out on the track and something goes wrong or something happens with that you're not really expecting, you kind of have to ad-lib it a little bit. You have to say, how can I adjust my game plan? I wanted this braking information. How can I get that? Well, our steering is maybe a little unstable. We can work on that when we bring it back. There's a lot of constant improvisation that we're doing.
So as co-team captain, what does it mean to be the co-team captain?
Yeah, it's a great exercise in integrating all the different parts of our stack. As Madhur said, the main components of driving is perceiving, planning, and controlling. And so we have a great team that builds these systems independently. And so one of my main jobs is to, at the track, integrate all of them together in a cohesive and safe fashion.
And while the car is out on the track, you're barking out orders to different members on the team. What's the braking doing? What does that instrument say? I mean, is that what it's like?
Absolutely. We're all hyper-focused on our little laptop that shows us telemetry information from the car. Is everything going well? Is the steering look stable? Most of the time, we're staring at a little unmoving dot on the screen and saying, oh, it looks good. Too much movement and it's not good. And it's quite funny to, sometimes I'm staring at a little screen while our car is going 120 miles per hour right in front of us.
There's so much more that I could ask, but I want to focus on a couple things. Before you get to the track, before you get into what you just described, the pressure and the precious segments of time you get to work with the vehicle itself, you're here on grounds at the University of Virginia. Surely you're doing a lot of pre-preparation for this very precious time. What is that like? What is the whole scope of the effort, beginning with a student who wants to join the team to where you are today as team captain?
So when I first joined the team, we started out doing simulation races. It's not quite the real thing or deploying code to the real car, but it's where we start. We have to run everything in simulation, and we have to see that our algorithm at least works like as perfectly as it can in this kind of black box environment. And so once we see that,
so these are computer simulations.
Yeah, we use video games as a as a great physics simulator and just a way to test our algorithm. Why recode like the physics of a race car if people have already done it? And so we use a variety of them to test out our algorithms. And while we do have the small robots, the F-110th robots, that is a great application of racing in a small contained environment. We have to take into account that the real car is bigger, it has different tires, different engine, and we have to take into account all these details before we head over to the track.
Great. How many students are part of the team?
So we started with, in the very beginning of the team formation, there were just 5 PhD students. Amar was one of them. And now I think we are around about maybe overall 25, 27 students. Majority of them are STEM undergraduates, C's undergraduates in the team, and I still have 4 PhD students. So we've grown, but we could even grow more.
So Madhur, you have to be very proud. Amar, thank you very much for that description. It was sound like a professor already, but you had to be proud. How does it feel to both be an Indy champion and a professor who built this entire program from scratch? You've got the fast car, but you also have the human capital that you're training.
Yeah, I mean, I have always said this, regardless of where we end up in the competition, that the students who are working on this, students in my team, for that matter, all the students from all the universities in Pit Road, they are without a doubt the top talent in robotics and autonomous vehicles on the planet right now. Time after time, they prove why that is the case. So it's just, it's mentoring them in this very unique, atypical way is just one of my primary motivations as a faculty. This is what keeps driving me to keep doing this, keep floating this ship, and I absolutely love and cherish working with them. What Amar did not mention is we live together at the track. I live in the Airbnb with 10, 12
Huge
students.
family.
It's a family, exactly. How many, if we do a poll at UVA, how many students would you say would claim that they have gone grocery shopping with their advisor many, many times? I would doubt that number is as high. But that's what we do. I live with them, I work with them, and I'm always their biggest champion. So it just fills my heart with joy and pride when I see these students excel. And we are finally seeing the trickle effects. There are students who have graduated from the team. They are telling me about interviews with their prospective employers where they just show the video of the car, talk about what their code did. And that's all you really need.
Thinking about the future a little bit, I'm just trying to wonder, if I were in your shoes, what would be like the pinnacle of achievement in autonomous racing? Would you want your car to go up against Mario Andretti and take him down?
The short answer is yes, but you've touched upon this very interesting topic that, where are we with respect to human capability? And as impressive as our 184 record is, I have no shame in admitting that we are not even close to what human racing drivers can do. When you look at Indy 500, that's a chaos of 33 drivers. And they all have been racing karts since they were 5 years old. They have developed this innate instinct to assess risk, to know where the car has the limits of what it can do, when it's going to spin out. Should I commit to the overtake now? How do I go crazy but still not crash into everybody around me and the wall? So our cars are like little teenage racing drivers right now, which are learning. We can do passing maybe one vehicle at a time, but that's the bar, right? That's what I keep going back to. That would be my dream, to show with a dozen cars what autonomous racing, untethered, unhinged, without this close supervision would look like. That's when I would truly believe that autonomous driving has reached a level where surely it's safe enough to deploy on freeways.
I'm just trying to imagine ESPN, man versus autonomous vehicle. It'd be like the craziest race.
Yeah, we want to do that. I think even at the stage where we are at, and just to clarify, the base car that we use, it's not a full Indy car. It's the one below the IndyCar league called Indy Lights or Indy Next. So it's slightly less powerful than a full-blown car. But even for Indy Lights, maybe you find it surprising, but many racing drivers have approached this competition with the desire to race against the robot. I don't think any insurance will cover that today, but if we can make it happen, we'll be up for it.
So I want to talk about race day. We open this episode with a snippet from the audio coverage. You can find it on YouTube of the race. So Amar, walk us through race day. You woke up that morning. It's a big day. You've been planning for this all year, months, right? Walk us through it, through the championship lap.
So the day before the race, actually, we were very nervous, and we wanted to see how fast the car could go, because we wanted to set a top time in practice, which would allow us to be seated first and go last during the competition, which gives you a large advantage. So we sent the car really fast in the morning, hoping to top out over these Italians. And the car was beautiful. We sent the car up to 174 miles per hour. We achieved a lap time of around 55 seconds or something like that. And we were just shy of being Italians. But that in itself felt like a win to me, because we have been at that track for a month now, just testing day in, day out. So when I finally see the car is effortlessly going 170 miles per hour, I feel like I already won the race. Yeah. But no one got any video of it, so I'm like, we got to do this whole thing again. So during race day, we were amped up. We were like, everything looked perfect yesterday, so we're just going to full send it today. We had written down this game plan the night before, a lot of arguing going on about how fast to send the car, what speed to send it here in the corner, what's the car's game plan. And then it felt like once the rain started coming down during the race,
that day.
Yeah.
I felt like my game plan almost just went out my mind. I was like, hey, we sent the car really fast yesterday. What are we going to do now? But after we saw all the other teams go fast after the track dried, I think the South Koreans and then the Germans went really, really fast right before us. We were like, hey, if they're going to do it, so can we. So we had to send it.
Wow. So, Madhur, how many laps were in this challenge? Could you walk us through lap 1, lap 2?
Yeah.
You're building, right? So Amar says you send it, but even in the process of sending it, I assume that there's stages, right?
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, how does that work?
So it works in the manner where the teams get around 7 minutes as soon as they cross the start-finish line to do as many laps as they want and put the time on the board. 7 minutes total. And as he said, we can't just go out there and full send it on lap one. We'll spin out probably in turn one. So the trick is to build up heat in these tires. And the real trick is to understand the physics of tire dynamics, right? At the end of the day, whether it's a human driver or an AI driver, a race car is only going to go fast if the tires are making good contact with the tarmac and you understand the physics of how that works. And that's what we have spent all the off-season trying to figure out and dial into our mathematical models. Anyways, we have to get up to speed. We take about 5 laps. Our first lap, we are warming up the tires at 140 miles per hour.
Do you have sensors that offer real-time feedback with regard to the temperature of the tires?
We have temperature for all 4 wheels, pressure data.
That's already amazing.
On race day, we can just monitor this. We can't really do anything about it. We've already done. So we keep an eye on these temps. And once every lap, you are allowed to make one adjustment in terms of how fast you command the car to go for the time trial. Okay? It's all autonomous. We are not steering or commanding the throttle in any ways. We're just think of it as the maximum we would like to go, which is a way of essentially giving teams the flexibility of a risk tolerance that they're willing to take. And so the 140 miles that we are warming up is already faster than the winning speed in 2021 at this track. That's how long the team has come. And so we take 5 laps to get up to speed. As Amar said, we have a game plan. I still have those notes on my iPhone, where we know what time we are targeting, what speed we are targeting, and what should be our risk tolerance. And so everything looks good. We are all keeping an eye on all the signals, and we have to trust at the end of the day in science and data. So that's the good thing about an AI driver is it's not getting any nerves. Only the people behind are
pushing at you. Right.
Exactly. So it will do what you command it to do with precision, with repeatability. And everything leading up to this point in practice gave us the confidence that we can push. Our run got interrupted because it started raining and the official said, slow down this car because there's some moisture in one of the turns. So we couldn't even do our 7 minutes to begin with. And we were already at 169 or so in that first stint. And the broadcast does not reveal this, but behind the scenes, I'm almost like arguing with race control. I need my 1.5 minutes remaining time to complete my run. That's only fair.
Yeah.
And so they understand, they respect our decision, and everybody's on board. So they allow us to
give you a green light. So what is it? The yellow flag? Or
exactly.
They give you a yellow flag.
In the real race, in human driving, there's a marshal waving the flag. In autonomous driving, there's a radio flag, which signifies to the car what the track condition is. So it's only when we resumed our time trial, we just knew everything looked fine.
The car is still driving, right?
No, it came back into the pits because I have to hand it out to the officials at the speedway, because when it poured, it really poured for an hour.
Yeah.
I had doubts, serious doubts, until the top IMS official who was with us in race control, he looked at me and he said, look, Madhur, when we give you the green light that the track is good and dry, what that means is that you can go out and run a full Indy 500 race. So don't let this weather play in your mind that you have to hold back or do anything special. The track is good. And to be honest, that meant a lot. That gave us the confidence to just stick with our plan. And when we do this 170 miles per hour, 171, interestingly enough, not many people know this, but we are actually commanding the car to go even faster. But it only reached 171 because there was one thing we didn't account for at all in all our calculations. Now we will. And that was there was a lot of wind at the track on that day.
Yeah.
And we did not have sophisticated enough models to account for wind gusts on some part of the track or in some turn. But all in all, we put a very competitive lap.
That's so super exciting. So both of you touched on some of your competitors. Amar, I think you mentioned the Italians. So in my mind, I'm thinking Ferrari, right, or Lamborghini, and you mentioned the South Koreans. And Madhur, talk about the rivals. Who were you up against? Were you favored?
Since the beginning of this competition, we've always been, I would say, unofficially at least, considered as the top American team because of our showing in the previous races. But by far, a team from Germany, from Technical University of Munich, TUM or TUM, is one of the top teams. And the leading team in this competition with the most victories is a team from Politecnico di Milano. It's a team called Polymove. And, it's almost to a point where we show up to a race and it's a foregone conclusion that Polymove or TUM is going to win. Just being honest.
Countries that make Porsche, BMW,
Exactly.
Lamborghini, Ferrari,
They have this racing heritage and the pedigree. They literally have entire departments of automotive engineering at their universities. The size of these teams are quadruple than what I field. So they are the favorites. But this year, I think the playing field was leveled because over the summer, everybody got a modified car with better sensors, with better steering capability, drive-by-wire systems. So it's almost like a reset for everyone that, okay, good, you were fast in 3 years in a row. Now the car has changed. Are you up for this new challenge where you can also be fast on this new hardware? Very real problem in autonomous vehicles.
Yeah.
So I think that leveled the playing field a little bit, and it allowed us to close the gap to the leading European teams. We went just before them. We were, like Amar said, the race is already on even before race day because practice determines the order in which you go. And there's obviously an advantage in going last. So we went second to last. We stick to our game plan. We put a very competitive time. Nobody, I think, thought that anyone could go closer to 52 seconds. We thought we could go below 52 seconds, but the wind got us. And then Polymove go out. They go last. Obviously, they will command the car to go faster than us. And they go out with a really impressive start. I'm already, exchanging glances with Amar. Looks like they are going for it. But as their 7 minutes progress, their incremental improvements started slowing down, and they could only reach to 170 point something average speed, which put us on the podium. So this is like you mentioned Ferrari. This is like a Ford versus Ferrari for
the film.
For autonomous racing with a U.S. team, the underdog team coming out strong. So that's how it played out.
That really is awesome. So thank you, Madhur and Amar. I think I can safely speak for everyone that's been following your team that it's been wonderful. You're champions. I have to ask, in the aftermath of this race, your team has gotten a lot of coverage. Sports Illustrated did a piece on you guys. Amar, what's it like to be worldwide famous for your PhD research?
It's fantastic. It gives me a great venue to work with other researchers and flaunt our accomplishments, of course.
So you're a student, Amar. What's next for you? What could possibly follow up winning the Indianapolis Challenge? What's next for you?
Well, I've got a few years to go in working on research.
Is your thesis about autonomous algorithms?
Absolutely. I'm working on safety in autonomous driving. And so this is a good tangential problem to work on.
Madhur, so what's next for the team?
So our next race is already coming up, and believe it or not, in the aftermath of the win, the team is already working to prepare us for that next race. Even after this, I would say, very remarkable performance, we have found so many little things that we can improve upon and truly be competitive and world-class. And so at these competitions, there's going to be more passing, there's going to be more cars, higher speeds, so we are taking it up a notch.
Is the course similar in Las Vegas?
Yes, it's still an oval course, but in the future of the Indy Autonomous Challenge, we will transition to road courses as well, which
Formula
is
One style.
Exactly, and in fact, we have plans to race at a Formula One track in Italy. It would be something else to go in Italy and beat the Italian teams in their own backyard, but we'll see how that goes. We'll obviously go for it, but that's what's next for the team. My mission, my personal mission, is to just ensure we build upon this success that we have been able to put UVA robotics on the map, and that's what I want to do. I want to grow this even more and work with even more students.
Well, you've definitely done that. Madhur, I'd like to talk about where you started all of this, but I doubt that you plan to design and engineer autonomous Indy cars when you were a beginning graduate student. How did this happen? How did you go from high school student to college student to famous engineering professor that wins racing competitions?
Basically, in high school, I remember, I was born in India. That's where I grew up. That's where I went to high school. And I have very vivid recollection that I used to come home every afternoon and binge on Discovery Channel, watching Mythbusters and Extreme Engineering before binge watching was even a thing. And so in retrospect, I was just getting my first training in how to solve problems and how to think critically. And so then I joined engineering undergraduate program in my hometown in India. To be honest, I was not really a gearhead or a motorhead, as they say. I was just a fan of Formula One. Like in my mind, how can you be an engineer if you do not admire the most technical sport there is? And so that's what drew me towards racing. And so in my undergrad, I think that was where I got involved in robotics in particular. I was the president of the robotics club of the university, helped it grow. And maybe one thing which is worth mentioning is in India, there is this culture where universities, undergraduate universities, they host robotics competitions nationwide. And so I fielded my robots in those competitions. I hosted them. And I can say for certainty, this is where the seed of you can use competition and combine it with something you already love were planted in my head. And so out of my undergrad, I came to grad school at University of Pennsylvania in Philly, not far from here. But ironically, my PhD has nothing to do with robotics. It has everything to do with the theoretical aspects, the foundation that you would need. So optimization, machine learning, embedded systems, control theory. And it's at the end of my PhD where I returned to my first true love of building robots. And this is when I started this program called F110th. It's a 1/10 scale autonomous RC car. You can buy it off the shelf and retrofit, and it was doing laps around my lab at Penn. And I was so excited. I wanted to share this with every single person on the planet. So we prepared. We did the hard work. We prepared IKEA-style instructions for anybody to replicate this work and videos on what it requires in the coding and the autonomy side. And then what followed after this was just beyond anybody's imagination. This thing just blew. I found myself hosting 1/10 scale F110 Grand Prix at robotics conferences around the world. Teams from other universities used to race in this 1/10 scale autonomous race. I still to date teach a course at UVA where the final exam in my course is a race, autonomous race. So everything fell into place, and it wasn't until I joined UVA in 2017 as an assistant professor that I was really interested in pursuing the research side of it, not just the education and the fun. And it was a risk. Many people told me it's not advisable to switch your research area as a junior faculty, but I think it's a risk I'm willing to take every single time because it's truly what I believed in and I wanted to set up. And that was the beginning of the Cavalier Autonomous Racing Team, where we got this opportunity to do this for real. Like you said, a dream come true to be racing race cars at the best tracks in the world. And it may seem like, I've done the heavy lifting, I've had the vision, but it's simply not possible without the support of the leadership. And I have to give a shout out to the entire C's leadership, and Dean West is a huge supporter of the team. She has helped us out whenever we've approached her for help. It's not every day you go to your dean or department chair and say, hey, I want to kind of buy a race car. I come to the CS staff, UVA staff, legal staff with all these ridiculous requests every now and then, and they hear me out, they reason with me, and they always find a way. And for that, I'm always going to be grateful.
I hope she listens to this, and I hope this brings a smile to her face, because I couldn't agree more with how much she's done for the university. Madhur, quick question. How can interested students get involved? Certainly, if you asked 100 kids on campus, would they like to race F1/10th cars? Maybe like 80 hands would go up. So there's got to be a process. How can kids get involved?
Yeah, so we do have a process that we have refined over the years. Logistically, we recruit once a year, typically in spring semester every year. That's how our racing season lines up. The broadcast goes out to all of C's. It's C's only because you require some technical know-how with the steep learning curve. Honestly, I personally don't care what your major is, as long as you have, the time and effort to devote to this. As we have alluded, this is very, very intense. It's a research lab, really, a research lab on wheels. And so if you have the time, you have the effort, and you are accountable to lead stuff, and, we can count on you to get it done, then you absolutely belong in the team.
Amar, we're running out of time here. So last question for you. Obviously, you have a need for speed. Has this work changed how you drive? I know if it were me on the team, I'd be worried about collecting speeding tickets. But for you, has this changed how you drive?
I always considered myself a pretty safe driver, but I definitely have found myself becoming more aggressive. If I'm working on the steering control, I find myself trying to take some optimal race line.
Madhur, how about you? Has this changed your driving?
Let me begin with a confession. Since you brought up the cars that you've owned, I'm a hypocrite because I work in autonomous racing and bleeding edge robotics, but I drive a manual transmission Miata. But mostly for the enjoyment, nothing to do with the technology of it. Yes, I have been plagued by my occupational hazard where I tend to hyper-analyze all traffic situations while I'm driving. So I'm always, at Hydraulic Road or somewhere thinking, what would an autonomous vehicle do here? It's very difficult to solve it.
Well, thank you, you guys. Thank you, Madhur. Thank you, Amar. This was wonderful. We look forward to strong showing in Vegas. It goes without saying that the research that you do, not just for your race cars, but for the work that matters, pointing to the future of autonomous vehicles, all of this work fulfills President Ryan's vision for UVA to be great and good in all that we do. So I'm Ken Ono, STEM advisor to the provost and the Marvin Rosenblum Professor of Mathematics, and you've been listening to Who's in STEM.
Who's in STEM is a production of WTJU 91.1 FM and the Office of the Provost at the University of Virginia. Who's in STEM is produced by Catherine Kosseboom, Claire Curzon, Katie Nichols, Ria Verma, Benjamin Larson, and Mary Gardner-McGee. Our music is composed and performed by Robert Schneider and John Ferguson of Apples in Stereo. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Listen and subscribe to Who's in STEM on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back soon with another conversation about scientific and technological innovation at the university.